everyone, I'm Kelly D, and today I'm going to be making a delicious treat from the cassava, or yucca as it's called in some countries in the world. Today we're going to be making cassava pone. Now some persons think that it is so difficult to make cassava pone. Well, I'm going to show you how easy it is to make it. So let's go over the ingredients. We have 4 cups of freshly grated cassava. Now I would have peeled the cassava and I used the food processor to blend it, but if you don't have a food processor, you can just grate your cassava finely. 4 cups of freshly grated cassava, but if you don't have that, you can hop over to the frozen department in your supermarket and pick up a pack of frozen cassava. Here we have 1 cup of grated coconut. Now once again, freshly grated, but if you don't have access to grated coconut, hop over to the supermarket and get 1 pack of frozen coconut. We have 1 3/4 cups of sugar. Now some persons can use a little more sugar, but I don't like my things too sweet, so we're going to just use 1 3/4 cups of sugar. Now we're going to have 1 tablespoon of pure ginger. We need 4 ounces of room temperature butter. We're going to melt this a little later, but we have 4 ounces of butter. Now for the spices, we absolutely must have spices when we're making cassava pone. We have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. We also have 1 teaspoon of baking powder, which we will use also. Milk is optional, but I'm going to use 3/4 cups of milk. To bring this extra layer of flavor, we're going to use 1 teaspoon of essence and 1/4 cup of raisins. Our first step is to cream our butter and our sugar together. Now make sure your butter is nice and soft. It creams much easier. And we're going to use our sugar. Now you can use a whisk, but I prefer to use a handheld blender. It works much quicker and it's easier. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cream this until it becomes nice and pale. Our butter and sugar is now creamed, so we're going to go ahead now and add some other ingredients. We're going to add our ginger. Ginger is going to give it a really nice flavor. Our spices, cinnamon and our nutmeg. Cinnamon and nutmeg always improves the taste of any dessert. And we're going to add the essence. Mixed essence, or you can use vanilla extract if you have that. And our final wet ingredient will be to add the milk. Now remember, milk is optional, but we're going to add the milk today. It's going to make our pone nice and moist. We're going to go ahead, we're going to blend this again with our hand mixer, and then I'll show you the next step. Our mixture is halfway there. All of our wet ingredients are in, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our dry ingredients. So we're going to add the cassava. Now growing up, I never really used to eat cassava. There were all types of myths about cassava because some person said it had some poisonous products. So I never really used to use cassava. But now we're going to use cassava today, now that we know it's completely safe to make our cassava pone. Oh, it smells so good. You could almost eat this thing already. We're going to add the cassava. Now we're going to add our coconut, which brings out the Caribbean flavors. And we're going to fold this in. And then we're going to add our baking powder, and finally we're going to add the raisins. Our baking powder. And the time that you add baking powder to any mixture is extremely important, because we know the baking powder, when it touches or when it gets mixed with any type of mixture, you get a chemical reaction, and we don't want our reaction to happen too early. So it's very strategic when we add our baking powder to our mixture. And now we are going to add our final ingredient, the raisins. We're going to just sprinkle them in. This will add another level of sweetness. And our pone is almost done. We're going to go ahead and preheat the oven now, and then we're going to put our mixture into a greased container, a greased baking pan, and we're going to bake it for 1 hour at 250 degrees. Our cassava pone is out of the oven and it is finished. Just look at it. It looks good and it smells amazing. I can't wait to taste it. So let's dig in. Just look at how moist it looks. It smells so good. I can smell the coconut in it. It's still a little hot. I allowed it to cool for a few moments. So once it cools for a longer time, it's going to get nice and firm. But I'm ready to just taste this thing. And I hope you saw how very easy it is to make cassava pone. This is so good. Cassava pone? Now you need to try it.